is one of the most archaeologically rich places in the world. I see already a few people shaking their heads, but it's true. When people think of archaeology, they tend to think of these massive stone structures that you can walk through. And it's hard to even imagine that humans built them, so some people imagine that aliens did. I'm not one of those people. When people hear that I do archaeology, they tend to think of this guy. And on a really good day, I might remind them of Laura Croft. Archaeology isn't nearly as full of action and romance as it is in those movies. And in Florida, at least, this outfit would be terrible in the field. We have the sun to contend with, mosquitoes, guns and whips are really not necessary. And there's always a swamp and the occasional snake. She's much better suited now. In archaeology, the people that I work with tend to have one thing in common. And then that's that they get really super geeked out about the things that they're looking at and the things that they find. And they tend to huddle over them and ooh and ah. And I go and see what it is, and they hold it up. And it's a dirty piece of broken pottery or a rusty nail. But the things that we find don't need to be beautiful. The things we make have one supreme quality, and that's that they live longer than us. Someone's trash or a modified shell that's been left there for thousands of years tells us a story of people, and it means something. And these things in Florida have been around and are found and tell us the story of the past 12,000 years that people have been living in Florida. You heard me right. 12,000 years people have been living in Florida. We're going to grab hands and cram into the DeLorean right now and go back about 12,000 years. 12,000 years ago in Florida, the state was twice the size that it is today. It was full of really gigantic animals like mammoths and giant ground sloths and beavers as big as the car that you drove here today in. And it was a much drier environment. So to find water, these animals and humans would go to springs. One such spring near Sarasota called Little Salt Spring is a really cool archaeology site now. And in it, we find things like human remains that still have brain matter on them. But cooler than that, it's hard to beat. Cooler than that, there's a now extinct giant land tortoise that was found, and evidence shows that people hunted it. They cooked it on the half shell, turtle on a half shell. And it's dated to be 12 to 13.5 thousand years old. Kind of crazy. Skipping some thousands of years, because I only have a few minutes. The environment in Florida starts to get warmer and wetter. The coastline is similar to the way it is today. And staying on the southwest coast, another site, Key Marco. Now, Key Marco has thousands of wooden artifacts that were found in the muck there. And these artifacts were carved with shark teeth and shell, and they were painted these bright colors. They have movable parts. Also, this is known as one of the most intricate sculptures that was found from this time, called the Key Marco cat. All of these sculptures and all of this artwork shows how great of artisans they were. And the Key Marco cat in particular just always reminds me of Grumpy Cat. But imagine 5,000 years ago, people were building these shell platform mounds, and we see post holes in these, which show that they have large structures put on top of them. So we do have our large ancient structures in Florida. They're just not made out of stone. Whenever you see a hill in Florida, you can be pretty sure that a human built it. We don't have much topography here for those that are new in town. Now, coming closer to this area, the Lake Okeechobee region, they found during a drought in 2007 a bunch of prehistoric artifacts, and archaeologists were able to see sites that they had never seen before because the lake levels were down so far. What they found were ceramic and shell tools, and they found things like axes and adze and jewelry and all sorts of things. This is a conch shell. Conchs are delicious, but they're terrible walkers. They're really slow. So a marine shell at Lake Okeechobee, which is in the center of the state, probably didn't walk there. So this site really shows how great of trade networks they had there. People were using dugout canoes. They were going east and west and north and south and trading information and trading goods. So that's the amazing thing about this site. Now, at some point, the Europeans came. But before they came, all the information we know about the people that were living here is through archaeology. About 500 years ago is the first time we have any written record or drawings on the people that were living here. When they came, one of the explorers had an artist with him who told another artist, so it's secondhand information, about the Timucua in St. Augustine. And these are some of the drawings that were published in 1591 showing the Timucua. Now, we have to take these with a grain of salt because you can see in this image there are mountains. We mentioned before that there are no mountains in Florida. In this one, there's a crocodile with biceps as big as Ricky Williams. That was last night. And in this one, there's a shell, but it's a Pacific nautilus shell. Those are not found in the archaeological record, and they're not available in that area. They would more likely have been using whelk. So basically what this shows is that archaeology, even when you have the written history, archaeology is the best way to find out about the people that were living here. There's a problem, which is that looters take some of the information out of the ground. And everything that they take, we lose information about the people that were here. So it's sort of a race against looters that we have. I think that each item tells a story that deserves to be told. It's everybody's history. It's not one person's, and it doesn't belong on eBay being sold or on some person's mantle. Each item tells a story about humanity, about culture, about a person, and those stories deserve to be told. Thank you.